Good evening, everyone. Welcome to day 7 of our Salesforce training. And today we're going to be going into some advanced concepts in Salesforce. So the next phase is beyond administrative tasks. Essentially, that means we're not just going to be creating fields and objects. We're going to start using Salesforce to solve problems. And in the sales and marketing applications, which is according to Salesforce Guide on Salesforce Guide for Administrator Certification, we have some requirements which we're expected to know. So I'm just going to show you where I got this from. So in case you are planning to write the exams after the training, this is your guide, and this is where the training materials are coming from. So the next stage is sales and marketing application, and it takes about 12%. So going to my slide, I just describe the same thing we're going to be learning, but emphasis I put on certain things that I feel you should pay attention to. For instance, you're supposed to learn how to identify the capabilities and implications of the sales process. So what are sales process? How does it work? We're going to learn all that. Given a scenario, apply the appropriate sales productivity features using opportunity tools, lead scoring, I-C2SF opportunity scoring, on-page assistance, and the likes. We're going to learn a lot in the next 2-3 days on the sales and marketing application. And if you have been following Salesforce for a while, you realize that Salesforce has different clouds, and there is what they call Sales Cloud. So sales and marketing applications that we're going to be doing today and probably in the next 2-3 days would focus on the Sales Cloud aspect of Salesforce, although it doesn't solve everything Sales Cloud has to offer, but knowledge of the sales and marketing application from this admin module will set you up for success if you're planning to become a consultant and if you're planning to write the Sales Cloud certification. Having said that, I'll go to my bullet points. As you can see, it's a bit technical. It's not something you are familiar with, but please try to pay attention, try to listen, and try to take notes. Please prepare your question at the end of the session, because I know you guys will have a lot of questions after today and maybe tomorrow, but please prepare them and don't miss them. And more importantly, you can watch the videos after the class. So I'm going to go straight right there into the trailhead. And if you're just joining us for the first time, it's too late. But if you still want to catch up, this is trailhead. This is where you get to learn about everything I'm going to be teaching you. So to use a trailhead, you need to have an account. And I recommend using your Gmail, your LinkedIn, or your Facebook, because those accounts, you can't really forget them. But if you want to use your email, that's fine. But make sure you don't lose the password, because if you do, okay, this is logging into my other account, which is not what I want to use. So I'm going to try to see. Okay, that's not cool. The reason why it's logging me is because I have an existing sign-in on, and it's just automatically detecting that. And a lot of you would have that issue as well. But make sure that you are signing into the right Gmail or the right account, which you want to use. Otherwise, your points might not aggregate properly. Okay, so make sure that you're logging into the right account. I'm going to go to Hands-on Hogs, and I'm going to launch my Salesforce. So today we want to learn a lot about what Salesforce can do. And we are going to be focusing on sales and marketing applications. So when it comes to Salesforce, they have what they call the Sales Cloud. They have what they call the Service Cloud. They have the Marketing Cloud. But in your Salesforce org, you usually have like some pre-made applications, okay? The pre-made applications are just to guide you so you don't have to randomly create objects from every angle. They just, okay, if you're willing to focus on the sales aspect of Salesforce, there are some pre-made applications they've created for sales app. If you're going to focus on service, there are some pre-made application for service. So right now we're focusing on sales, and the object Salesforce has created for sales and marketing applications are predominantly leads, opportunities, and campaigns. So I'll repeat that again: leads, opportunities, and campaigns. So what are leads? Previously, I explained what leads are, but right now we have to focus into details of what leads can do. As you can see, I only gave you an overview of what leads can do previously when we're just touching objects, but now I'm going to go into much details. So please pay attention and write down some notes in case you want to ask me questions. So before we start, I'll just let you know that when it comes to leads, we can do so many things. One of the things we can do is we can convert a lead into an account and a contact. You're aware of that. But there's also what they call lead management. So the lead management essentially has features about how you manage your lead. For instance, remember, a lead is a prospective customer. A prospective customer is someone that hasn't made sales, hasn't bought any items from you, but they are probably interested in buying something. So they are prospects, right? So imagine you having Betty Bear or having David Monaco 10 times in the system. So having David Monaco 10 times in the system is not cool, right? Because we know that every time a lead is created, it goes into our lead object. But if we have David Monaco 10 times in the system, that's not cool. So the lead management helps you to remove duplicates from lead. The lead management helps you to do a lot of things in the lead object. So now let's go into much details of what the lead can do. The first thing we need to know is that there is what they call the lead process. So like there's a process within the lead called the sales process. Okay, so we have processes in Salesforce, and there is lead processes, there is sales processes, and there is support processes. But for now, as you can see, we are under marketing. We're going to be focusing on lead process, but eventually we're still going to go to sales process when we get to the opportunity object. But for now, let's focus on the lead processes. So what are the lead processes? The lead processes are essentially just a way to manage your lead. So what do I mean by that? For instance, if you are having different events, or you're having different business segments. So maybe one of your segments is into IT, one of your segments is into entertainment and stuff like that. And you want to capture your potential leads, okay, from entertainment, your potential lead from whatever event you're into, your potential lead from different business segments you have. You don't want to just constantly put all the leads inside one box, okay? Because think about it, right? If you just put everything that comes into the lead object into one box without differentiating where they're coming from, then it kind of like, it looks boring. It doesn't look professional in terms of business processes. It doesn't make you well structured, and it defeats the whole purpose of you using Salesforce. So the lead processes in Salesforce helps you to organize your leads based on record types. Remember, record types are data that are different types of data you enter into a particular object, and the pick place value changes based on those record types. So the record types helps you differentiate what pick place value comes up whenever you're entering data into that object. So lead processes is ideal for this because it helps you differentiate certain business segments and what leads to be coming into that business segment. So now let's go into the capabilities of the lead object itself. So I'll go to lead and everything under leads will come out. So we have what we call the lead assignment rules. I'm going to explain all this with practical example tonight. So please, you have to kind of like pay attention because it's easy, but it can be very confusing if you're not paying attention. Okay. So we have what we call the lead assignment rules. What are lead assignment rules? The lead assignment rules are essentially rules that can be created to assign a lead. Remember, I told you, when you create a lead, you want to manage that lead. So who will be responsible for managing that lead? For instance, if I enter a new lead into the system and I said the lead source is from website, the lead source is from website. So who is going to be managing all the leads we capture from the website? Someone needs to manage it. If there is no one in charge of managing all the leads that comes from the website, then we can easily assign it to a queue. A queue is like a dedicated, if you're working in the maybe customer center, you realize that when people call you, initially they go onto a queue, and when someone is available to pick up that call, then they pick that queue, they pick up the call up. So that's essentially what Salesforce is trying to tell you here. You say you can put a lead into a queue, and whenever someone is available to pick up that lead and process that lead, then they go to the queue and pick up the lead. Okay. So how do you do that? You use assignment rules to do that. We're going to see an example shortly. Lead auto response rule. Lead auto response rule is, when you fill a form online and immediately you get an email thanking you for filling that form. The auto response rules is responsible for that. What does that mean? It means that when a lead comes into the system and it matches a criteria such that maybe the city is from New York. If any lead is entered into the system and the city is from New York, you will get an auto response rule email that says, thanks for filling our form. We understand that you're living in New York and blah, blah, blah. Based on your criteria, you can create a customized auto response rule for the person filling the lead form. Okay. We also have lead processes, which I explained briefly earlier. We have what we call web to lead. So what's web to lead? I just explained an instance of someone filling a form online. So for instance, I can easily just go on Blackforce website, and whenever someone fills this form, it goes into my Salesforce objects. So how do we create this form on an external website that has nothing to do with Salesforce? That concept or that feature is called web to lead, meaning that it's coming from the website and is going to the lead objects. Okay, I'm going to show you an example of that. But there's so many other use cases for the lead object. So without wasting much of the time, I think we can now go straight into explaining the lead object. So what will be the best way to start? I think let's start with web to lead, because web to lead will form the foundation of what we're doing. Okay, before that, let me go into the lead object and explain some certain fields in the leads that would help you, understand certain items. So one thing about lead is rating. These are fields which is created by Salesforce. You can take it off if you don't want it, but obviously ratings are something you use to identify how hot is not the right word to use. Rating is used to identify the potential or the possibility of a lead being converted. By that, I mean the possibility of you selling to this lead and this lead becoming your customer. Okay, so that's rating. Lead status is what you use to form the lead paths. So as you can see, we did not create a custom path for leads. It automatically appears on the page layout. The lead status is what determines this path. So for instance, if your lead processes change in the future, you can configure the lead status to add more item on the pick list. So how do you do that? Again, you go to the back end, you go to the objects, you go to lead, and you go to status. So the status of that lead would not be used as the path. So this open, working, close, close is what you see here. So if you want to add more item, all you just need to do is new, and you can add more item, okay? Once you add more item, label is add more. It should automatically pop up, but if it's not popping up, you can just do this, okay? Save. The only difference about the API name is that it shouldn't contain space, okay? If it contains space, it might not go through, or it's going to give you an error. So now if you go back to this, you should be able to see the opportunity to increase the number of pick list value in the lead status when you're creating a new lead, okay? You see add more, and you can see the lead status add more. So now I explained to you the last time that you can use record types to determine whether to hide this or not. There's also the lead process. The lead process is what you can easily use to hide these items as well, like in terms of paths, okay? So typically you're supposed to use lead process, and you can use record type and lead process in conjunction. So I will now go back to the lead homepage to explain certain things again. We have the company. One thing, the reason why the company is important is because when you're converting your lead, you would need to create an account and a contact. So when you don't have the company present, then the account will be converted to a person account if a person account is enabled in your Salesforce org. Now, this is very important. It's very important because you don't necessarily have person accounts. You generally have a business account. A business account is the one that has a company, right? It has a company name. But Salesforce is telling you that in your leads, if you do not have a company present in your leads, if you do not have a company present, when you convert that leads, it will convert into a person account. A person account is like a B2C. A business account is like a B2B. B2B means business to business, and B2C means business to customer, right? You're directly relating to the customer. So imagine you having a person account. You necessarily don't need to have a contact, right? Because the person account technically should have the email address of the person and should have all the contacts within the account object. But don't let me distract you with person account, because you probably wouldn't need it for your Salesforce admin. And before you can create a person account, you need to speak with Salesforce. You need to do certain things and speak with Salesforce. Okay, so now that I've given you like an high-level overview of the lead objects, even though we haven't done much, I've just given you certain things, like the lead source, for instance, is just you determine where the lead source is coming from. It could be from web, it could be from phone, it could be from other. But again, everything you have in the pick list, you can change them, okay? So you can add more, you can take it off based on lead process. So now let me kind of like show you one of the key things we're going to be doing today, which is the web to lead. I want you guys to pay attention to this, because chances are, as an admin, you might not do this, but the web developer might require you to do this on their behalf, and you give them the code. So what are web to lead? Web to lead are ways which you can capture a lead from an external system. So what do I mean by that? I mean, you can create a form that looks like this. You fill in the information and it goes into your Salesforce system. So the concept is called web to lead according to Salesforce. So to create a web to lead, you go to quick search or quick find, you type in web to lead, and you create a web to lead form. So web to lead form, you can determine the fields you want to have in the web to lead, but let's just keep this simple and just say name city. I might want to put revenue, okay? Revenue, annual revenue, okay? So now I have that. And it's asking me, what should be the return URL? Meaning that when this form has been submitted, let's say from Blackforce and blah, 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 what should be the return URL? Obviously, if you're a business, you could say it should go back to Blackforce homepage, right? Or it should go back to blackforce.ca/programs or something like that, right? That is where you want the user to be redirected to after filling the form. You can determine to have recapture. So essentially, what comes up when you're filling a form and Google say verify yourself that you're not a robot and stuff like that. That's what it means. But I wouldn't include that because it requires a bit of setup and we don't have the time to set up recapture right now. So now I'm filling this form. I'm generating this web to lead. So these are what the user will fill online. Okay? These are what the user will fill online. These are what the user will fill online. I click on generate. When I click on generate, this HTML will be provided. So as an admin, you don't need to know the HTML code. You just need to give it to your developer. But if you're a bit savvy and you know how to do front end, then this is your bread and butter. You copy this and you open a very simple application that can help you process HTML, okay? So I'm just going to open Visual Studio Code, but you don't need to know this, okay? You don't need to know this. Before I proceed, I would like to find out if you guys can see my Visual Studio Code.
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Okay, good. So Visual Studio Code is just a simple. Visual Studio Code is just a simple tool to edit whatever code you have, right? You can edit different types of code, but mostly JavaScript, PHP, Java, HTML, CSS, and the likes. Okay, it's just a developer tool. And if you don't want to use this, you can use other applications. You can even use Notepad. If you're very good with Notepad, all you just need to do is open Notepad and copy that HTML there, okay? I don't have a Notepad on my Mac. That's why I'm using Visual Studio Code. But any text editor is fine. So I just copy that code. I'm not touching anything in this code. I just copied it. But if you can pay attention, you will see that all the variables, all the fields which we want to collect is there, okay? And you'll see that we have a return URL, which is blackforce.programs. Again, you don't need to touch anything here. You don't need to know anything here. You probably wouldn't do this as an admin. You just need to know how to configure it, okay? So I save this and I'm going to put it in my desktop and I'm going to call it test.html, okay? So I call it test.html. And as you can see, because I name it as HTML, something like colorful comes up. That's the benefit of Visual Studio Code. It helps you to kind of like highlight certain things and stuff like that. So now I'm going to just minimize this and I'm going to open that HTML website. Remember, I got the code from just Salesforce, okay? So it's nothing serious. It's just a normal code. I'm trying to open that HTML right now. This is the HTML. And this is the form we got from the web to lead. Remember, this form essentially is HTML. Again, don't stress yourself over this. You wouldn't do this as an admin. All you just need to do is manage this process, okay? So now this is the test I created. And I think it was test, but yeah, it was test. So now this is the form And as you can see, we have first name, last name, email, company, city, state, annual revenue. If you go back to the web to lead, which we created earlier, we have the same thing, okay? First name, last name, email, company, and the likes. So what does that mean? It means if I fill this form here, if I fill a form here, it will go to my Salesforce, submit. Remember what I told you? Whenever I fill the form, it will redirect me back to Blackforce.programs. And that was where I configured in my web to lead. Remember the process? You generate web to lead, you fill in the forms, you select the forms or the fields you want to bring into view. You put in the redirection website. Whenever people submit that form, it will now go to that website once it's done, right? If I go back to my Salesforce and I go back to all open leads, as you can see, this was the form I just filled online. This is web to lead. As you can see, I don't need to do any programming. I don't need to do anything. And it automatically just create that web to lead and it goes into my Salesforce. The reason why it was able to go into my Salesforce was because I have generated the web to lead from my Salesforce. Now, let's go back into what I said earlier, lead processes. So lead processes are ways which you can organize all the leads that is coming into your system. I've only given you an example of web to lead. There's also phone to lead, but there's no official feature like that. But if you're calling someone on the phone and the person is giving you contact information, you just enter them into the system. And how would you give that source? Who would own the source of the lead? It's going to be phone, right? If there is no phone, you can enter phone, but it's phone inquiry, right? So whatever source you want, you can create them or you can enter them manually or whatever it is. But lead process helps you, okay? So now I want to say web leads. So I'm creating a new lead process for web leads. Remember, different processes could be required to manage different types of leads. This example is for web leads, okay? And I'm going to create another one. I don't need to create another one. But for web leads, this is what I have, okay? Save. I can just take off, add more, save. What I can do in the lead object is create an extra this thing for web leads, okay? Status. So right now, I want to add something more. What can I add if something is coming? What website checked or activated or something like that? I want to say user confirmed, verified. Okay, so this would be a process that user is verified. Remember, just make sure that there is no space in your API name. It's very important. And I'm adding it to the lead process. As you can see, once I create an extra item on the lead status, it tells me to add it to the lead process, meaning that if I have multiple processes, I might not need to say user verified. For instance, if I am adding a lead from the phone call, obviously I'm talking to someone on the phone, so the person is not a robot, right? So I don't need to add an extra process to whatever it is. So let me give you an example of that. I'm going to say verification not required. That's fine. So I go to lead processes and I'm going to say phone leads. Phone leads, meaning that we don't need verification for phone lead. Okay? Save. So what's the benefit of this lead process? I've created two processes right now. What's the benefit of it? Why do we create lead processes? We create lead processes to automatically assign a lead to a particular person or queue in the system. So now I want to use this process. How do I use this process? The only way I can use this process is to assign the lead. So I go to lead assignment rules. What are lead assignment rules? I explained earlier, lead assignment rules are rules which you've created in the system. So whenever a lead matches a process, or whenever a lead has certain criteria, when certain criteria matches whatever you've specified, it goes through a process. So now let me explain. Remember, I've created a lead process called phone leads and web leads. Okay? Phone leads and web leads. Now I go to my assignment rules. I go to standard assignment, but I can create a new assignment. Whatever it is, I can create new lead assignments. The only difference is that once you create a new assignment rule, you deactivate the old one. So you cannot have two assignment rules active at the same time. As you can see, when I create new lead assignments, the old one becomes inactive. If I create another assignment, this one will become inactive. Okay, so new lead assignments. Now I want to create criteria. What do I mean by criteria? Criteria means that if the lead should have source equals web, assign it to this user. If the lead should have source equals phone inquiry, assign it to this user. But using processes, you can also assign it to this process or assign it to that process. So now I'm going to say new, and I'm going to say the sort order, meaning that which of these should run first. That's what it means, okay? 1. Obviously, the starting point is usually 1, but you can change it once you start having a lot of criteria, okay? So now criteria are met. That's the criteria which I want to use. I could usually use a formula, but criteria are met. So now I'm going to say source. Source. I'm going to the lead source equals, I want it to be equal to web. Insert. Then who should I assign it to? A user. And I want to assign it to our test user. Okay, so I save. Remember, the only reason why we're doing this is because we want to use the web process, the lead web process. Now, new. I'll call this 2. And I'm going to say source again. But this time around, I want it to be equal to phone inquiry. Okay? Phone inquiry, insert. And we should own it. If it's phone inquiry, it should go to me. Okay? Save. So we've created 2 assignment rules. We've created 2 lead processes.
I'm sorry, that new window, where is it coming from? Where are you dragging it in from? When
I click the search stuff, a new window will come up. Okay? When you click that search stuff, okay?
Thank you.
So now we've created 2 lead processes, the phone leads and the web leads. What is the difference between the phone leads and the web lead? The phone lead does not have user verify. We don't need to verify a user in the process of the phone lead. But in the web lead, we need to verify the user, okay? We need to verify the user. But obviously, what you can do, as you can see, user verified is at the bottom, and that's not cool, right? When you get a new lead, the user verified should be maybe second or something like that. Let's see if we can quickly change that. Because user verify after lead converted doesn't make sense. So I'll just go to status. Again, you'll see me going around the Salesforce org. That's the expectation going forward. You should know where the object is, know where the fields and relationship is, and find your way around Salesforce. Although I might be a bit fast, but I want you to kind of like pay attention that I'm not doing anything really, like I wouldn't say I'm doing something new. It's something that you guys are aware already, okay? So what I'm trying to do is that user verified what was at the bottom, meaning that after we convert a lead, why do we still need to verify the user? We need to verify the user maybe at the second stage, once we open the lead or something like that. So I save. So now let's go back to the lead processes that we were creating earlier. I go back to lead processes. Remember, the phone leads, we don't need to verify the user because we know that we've spoken to the customer. The web leads, we want to verify the user before we move to the next stage. That's what a lead process is. That's what a lead process is. The lead process just shows you what you intend to do with a lead in terms of how to close or convert a lead. This is the part or the process part, life cycle. Now that we have two processes in place, we go to assignment rules. Again, I told you assignment rules are what should happen if the criteria from our lead processes matches, or we want to establish a criteria to determine what life cycle this lead should take. This lead should take the lead process, the web process, or the lead should take the phone process. We want to determine the life cycle. New lead assignments. The first one is if the lead source equal to web, I want it to be assigned to test user. If the lead source equal to phone inquiry, I want to be assigned to Babatope Olajide, right? So that's the assignment. That's who is going to own this lead. However, the lead process, the lead life cycle determine these parts, okay? The life cycle of the lead, what part is going to take. So now let's try this again. I'm going to go back to this form and I'm going to, what is the criteria again? When it equals to web, when it's phone inquiry. But if you can see, we did not put that form field in this form. So let's quickly do that. Let's generate a new form that would have that web lead source so we can assign it properly. I'll go back to web to lead and I'll now bring lead source. Okay, so the user can actually fill the lead source and they can assign it properly. I generate the HTML. Don't get confused. You don't need to know about this HTML stuff. Normally, you're going to get into a working environment, and that's the person that will configure this HTML. But if you know about HTML, it's a good thing. You can just carry on with that, okay? So again, I just copy and paste the HTML, okay? I copy and paste the HTML. You can see the lead source is now there. I save. Now I'm back to this. Can you see the lead source is now there? So what am I trying to tell you right now? I'm trying to tell you that if I select web as the source of this lead coming from the external website, according to my assignment rule, it will go to test user. If I select phone inquiry, it will go to Babatope Olajide. So now let's test. I'm going to select web, okay? Coming from web. Last name, just to differentiate it, right? So we have that. Again, I'll just say coming from web, so we can know it for sure that it's coming from web. Submit. Again, it redirects to wherever we've set it to redirect to. But more importantly, let's see what happens. Refresh. Go to all leads. And I want to look for coming from web. This is coming from web, okay? So coming from web, can you see? It goes to test user. That is what we've been trying to say. Whenever the lead is coming from web, it goes to test user. But now let's say the lead is coming from phone inquiry. I'm going to change it to phone inquiry, okay? Phone inquiry. And phone inquiry, save. So now I refresh my lead. I go to all leads. I look for phone inquiry. Did I submit that instance? Phone inquiry. It goes to me. Can you see that assignment rules in kicking off? The assignment rule that we set determines who gets to own that lead when it comes from an external source or the lead is following an assignment rule. It's automatic. As long as it's active, you can build different criteria and you assign it to the user that would own that lead based on the criteria you've set. Now that we've seen the assignment rule, what about this part? Remember, what is changing this part is the status, right? Is the status, right? Is the process, the lead processes, okay? We go to the lead processes and we say we have phone leads, we have web leads. But read these comments. After creating a new lead process, associate it with one or more lead record type to apply it to new leads. This is the key thing when it comes to lead process, sales process, or solution process. Any process you're creating, make sure you associate it with a record type, because the record type would now determine what parts it should take, just like we used to have before. But this one is an automated part created from Salesforce. Previously, we created a custom part, but this one is automated parts. So now let's go to the lead objects and create the record type that would follow the parts. Record types, new record types, web leads. Guess what process we're going to select? Web leads, okay? And let's just make it for system admin just to save us time. Next, we select the lead layout, save. That's the first record type we've created. We go to the record types, we go to new, and we create phone leads. Okay, phone leads. We make it active, and I'll just assign it to system admin. But again, you have to assign it to the profile that you want to select, okay? Next, the layout, save. So now that we've assigned different type of stuff, right? Now let's go to our lead objects, refresh this page so it kicks in. I click on new, it comes up, right? Phone leads, next. The most important thing here is to select phone, okay? No, the most important thing is to select the record type phone, because the lead source is not doing anything. But as you can see, we don't have user verified for phone lead. It comes out like the normal stuff. Now, let's go back to lead, refresh, new, web lead. Everything is based on the process we've selected. The process we've selected would now automatically come. As you can see, the process is controlling this. The process is controlling this part. How did we create that? We created it using this. Okay, we created two processes And we said, if it is web lead, include user verified. If it is not web lead, do not include user verified. That's the process we've created. Now, how do we assign the process we've created? We went to the lead object. We create record types. Phone leads, we take lead phone lead process. Web leads, we take web lead process. That's all we needed to do for lead processes. Whereas for lead assignment, we'll assign it to user, meaning that whenever it matches a criteria that we've set in any field, doesn't matter if it's lead source, you can create any field, you can select any field. Revenue, if revenue is greater than $100, do this. Lead assignment is assigning to a user. Lead process is determining this part. So don't confuse the two together. The assignment is for who owns this lead. Who owns it? The owner. And the process, lead owner, that's the assignment, who owns it. But the process is for the life cycle of the lead. Should we verify the user or not? We're only going to verify the user if the lead is coming from the web. That's all you need to know. Okay, so now we've seen how to assign a lead to a user using assignment true. But that's not everything about assignment true. You don't necessarily have to assign to a user. You can also assign to a queue. But before I go into queues, let me do some interesting things here. What are the interesting things I want to do? I said to you order, meaning that this is the first thing the system will check. Is this lead source from the web? If it is yes, it's going to stop and assign this lead to test user. If it is no, it's going to continue to number 2. Is this lead source from phone inquiry? If yes, it's going to assign to this user. Okay, that's the purpose of this order. The order determines what should the system check first. Now, let me edit this order. I'll put web as 2 and phone inquiry as 1 and reorder. Okay, phone inquiry is now 1, web is now 2. Okay, so I go back, and if the lead is phone inquiry, the first thing, no, I'll say the lead is web. Okay, the lead is web. If I submit, it will still check phone inquiry first before web. But this would always be obviously web, because if we have just web here, it's going to be web, right? So let me create something more interesting. I'm going to say if what do we have? We have city, okay? I'll say if the city, where's the city? This is the lead city, equals Lagos. So if I said status city. If the lead city equals Lagos, then assign to Babatope, okay? Save. So now the first thing is going to check is the lead city equals Lagos? If yes, assign to Babatope. If not, if the lead source equals web, if yes, assign to test user. So let me put Lagos here, okay? And I say Lagos lead. Submit. Okay, then I refresh this lead, go to leads. Lagos leads is assigning to this is Lagos leads, right? And is assigning to Babatope. So let's go back to our lead assignments to find out. Number 1, Lagos leads assigning to Babatope. That's perfect. Now, If it is not Lagos leads, it's going to go to number 2, which is web. So again, let me create something and I will say random lead. Okay, random lead, save. Remember, the source is web. It's no longer Lagos lead. The source is web. Refresh. And we can see that random leads is going to test user. That is how to put that condition. The condition determines what will be evaluated first, okay? In addition to that, we have what we called select the user or queue to assign this lead. I've only shown you how to assign to user. How about queue? Before you can assign to a queue, you need to create that queue. So the first thing you need to do is type in queue. So what are queues? Like I explained earlier, the queues are just where you put something until someone that is available to pick up that, that something is ready. For instance, you put a lead in a queue. Whenever someone available to attend to that lead, the person will go to the queue and attend to the lead, okay? So queue are just a transit process, a temporary place. You put something until someone that is ready to pick it up attends to it. So I'm just gonna say lead queue as an example of a queue. Then you can add people to the queue, okay? But don't let us do that because it's not important. It's not required. It's not compulsory, sorry. Then I go to lead, which is my object of interest. Remember, when you're creating a queue, you need to associate that queue to an object. And I'm selecting lead as my object of interest. Then I'm selecting the users. Remember, you can select users, you can select roles, you can select public group, and you can select roles and subordinates. I'm selecting the users in this system. I save. After I save, I have a lead queue. Now, if I go back to my lead assignments, assignment rules, new lead assignment, I want to create a new criteria, and I'm going to say 3, okay? If the annual revenue is greater than or equal to 1, assign it to a queue, not user, queue. Then I click on the search bar. It brings this box up. I select the lead queue that I created earlier, okay? Then I save. Remember, annual revenue greater than 1, save. Now that we've created another condition whereby if annual revenue is greater than 1, then you should assign to lead queue. Let me see if I put revenue here. I did not put revenue here, so let me use something that I put. I'm going to put Lagos, okay? I'm going to put city, sorry. I'm going to change this to from annual revenue. I'm going to delete this city. And I'm going to change this from annual revenue to city, okay? So I can easily create an example to work with. Save. So now I have city. Obviously, that doesn't make sense. It has to be Lagos. Okay, equals to. Okay, save. So now I've said if the city equals to Lagos, don't assign to user, but assign to queue. Okay, so now I refresh this and I'll just say Lagos lead queue. Okay. Before I select that, so I want to make sure that this doesn't get evaluated. So I'm going to select something else so we don't assign to test user, okay? Submit. So now if you go back to your leads, refresh this. Lagos leads last name. Lagos lead queue. Can you see? this guy, which is a Lagos lead queue, is going to lead queue. It's not going to user, it's not going to test user, it's not going to Babatope olajide, it's going to lead queue. This is how you assign a lead to a queue. Now, no one owns this lead. No user in the system owns this lead. So if you're working in a support team, how would you be able to assign this lead to yourself? Remember, there's no user called lead queue, right? You go to the lead object and you refresh this just to make sure it kicks in. You go to lead queue. Can you see lead queue? When you create a queue for an object, it will automatically appear in the leads view. Okay, it will automatically appear in the leads view. So you can create as many queues as possible. It will come here. So when it comes here, all the lead queues on all the leads under lead queue would appear. Then you can now say, okay, I'm going to accept this lead. You can select the lead and say, I'm going to accept this lead. Once I select the lead, I click on accept. The lead will now become my lead. So the lead is no longer in the lead queue, but is now owned by me. That is how you create lead. That is how you assign lead. And that is how you do the lead process and assignment rules. I know we've done a lot in just 1 hour. We've done what some people do for a living. This is what some people do for a living. They configure things in Salesforce. I told you we're doing beyond administrative right now. Beyond administrative means you're no longer creating fields and objects. That's Salesforce admin. Now you're now doing what a typical consultant would be doing. A typical consultant wants to help the business manage their operation, streamline processes. How do you do that? You make sure that the business is well set up. The business is well set up for operation. Business will tell you that we have different places we collect data from, but we want to make sure that data are being assigned appropriately to the right team, to the right department. That's when you come up with your lead processes. I need to use lead processes for this. Okay, as a consultant, you need to know what lead processes are. Lead processes are based on what the business gives to you. The business says, when the lead comes into our system, I want this lead that is attached to the web to go to the web processing department. I want this lead attached to phone should go to the phone inquiry department. This is how you build your Salesforce org. The first thing you start with is a lead process. Create a lead process, which determines the path that the lead will take when it enters the system. Now, you want to create assignment rules. Okay, you want to create assignment rules that determine who takes ownership of the lead. You can either create an assignment rule that is assigned to a user or a queue. As you can see, I've constantly been going to the BlackForce website to show you how to test this. You don't have to be on the BlackForce website to do this. You don't have to be on an external website to do this. You can also do it internally. How do you do it internally? Go back to your lead, go to lead settings. If you go to lead settings, you have something here. Click on edit. So your lead settings determines a lot of things. When a lead comes in, there is always what they call a default owner. A default owner is when the lead does not have who owns it. You select a user or a queue. Ideally, you select a user, but you can also select a queue. So if the lead does not match any criteria you've set, who should own that lead? If it doesn't match web, if it doesn't match phone inquiry, if it doesn't match whatever you've set, who should eventually own it? Then you select queue. Then anyone working in the team can just go to the lead queue and see all leads that are open for the day that has no owner. All the leads that are open, then they can now select those leads and accept it or do something to that lead, okay? That's the purpose of default lead owner. You can also notify the default lead owner that they've received a new lead, okay? Now, there is this what they call hide opportunity section when you're converting a lead. Remember, I told you the last time, when you have a lead and when you convert a lead, it creates what? An account, an opportunity, and contacts. Accounts, contacts, opportunities. But you don't have to create opportunity if you don't want to create opportunity. This is where you change that settings and say, don't create opportunity by default. Hide opportunity section of convert lead. That is where you change that option, and the lead, when you're converting a lead, you don't need to create an opportunity. Okay? So now I save that. I save that, and I also want to show you something. If you go to the lead object, this is the lead object. This is a page layout. Go to lead layout. Go to lead layout properties, okay? There is show on edit lead assignment checkbox, meaning that I can determine if the assignment rule should run or not. I can determine that, and I can make it active or not. So what does that mean? It means that if I'm creating a new lead, this stuff, assign using active assignment rule. So far, I've been going outside to create a lead that is anonymous. By anonymous, I mean the lead does not have owner, but the assignment rule will now determine who owns the lead. However, if you create a lead in the system, you own that record. If you create any record in the system while you're in Salesforce, the record would automatically associate to you because you're already logged in and you're the one creating that record. However, if you select active assignment rule, it will kick in based on the assignment rule you've set in the assignment rules criteria. For instance, if I select web, previously when I created the lead, it was assigned to me, and I can show you again. It was assigned to me, right? Can you see? It's assigned to me, Babatope Olajide. But now I'm going to create another lead, and I'm going to give it, the lead source should be web. Okay? And I'm going to say save. It's still assigned to me, right? I'm going to create another lead, but the lead source will still be web. And I'm going to say assign using active assignment rule, meaning that I don't want to be the owner of this lead, but I want the active assignment rule to kick in. So the owner, based on the assignment rule, would own it. Now it's test user. That's how to activate the active assignment rule. So while you're creating this lead, you activate the active assignment rule, and the lead is not owned by you by default. It is owned based on what the Salesforce consultant or developer or the admin has set in the assignment rule. Please understand this. Not all things you create should be owned by you. You can determine who owns it eventually. Okay? You can determine who owns it eventually. So now that we've learned a lot within a very short period, and I know that it's overwhelming. That was why I said you should take notes and try to make research into these things that I am mentioning. Lead assignment rule, lead processes, lead settings, auto response rules. What are auto response rules? Auto response rules are essentially rules that automatically send you an email. Whenever someone fills a form, you get an email, thank you for the form you filled. That's what Salesforce call auto response through. So why would you send an email? You can send an email to confirm or to acknowledge that the information has been entered correctly, and also maybe to verify the email address of the person. So auto response through are ways you can communicate immediately to whoever is filling this form. So now, first of all, I can put in Salesforce developer, and I put in Salesforce developer email, okay? But I need to set a criteria. In my auto response through, I need to have created a criteria that would generate auto response from web. I could just say auto response, doesn't matter. Make it active, save. So now that I have auto response from web active, I can now create criteria. I created criteria and I said, if the city equals Lagos, I want to send out an email. And you have to specify the email that is inside your Salesforce org. If you don't specify the email that is inside your Salesforce org, you cannot specify this sender. So this sender is, when you receive an email from someone, there's always a sender. This is what Salesforce is asking you. Who is sending this email? So just specify the person, okay? Now, you can use an email template. I will select an existing template, but I can show you how to create a new email template, okay? So let me select an existing template, save. I need to specify order, order. So what have I said? I said, if the lead city equals Lagos, send an automatic email to the person that is entering that data. So what does that mean? I'm going to send an automatic email to this guy if the lead city equals Lagos. But remember, these are just very basic criteria. When it comes to real business situation, it's not going to be like city equals Lagos or something like that. It's going to be much, much demanding or technical, okay? So let me go to this email and let me log into this email. Once I log into this email, can you see I use a template, okay? This is the email I received a couple of minutes ago because the auto response through says, send an email when the city equals Lagos, okay? So how do you create your own templates? You can create your own templates. Email templates. Let's use Lightning email templates. Email templates. Just 1 minute. Do I have Lightning email templates? Or I can
right
just...
there.
It was there when you type Lightning.
Under Gmail instructions.
Lightning. Yeah, it was there, yeah.
Where's Lightning?
It took me
okay, yes, sorry. Sorry, thank you. Lightning email templates. I just have to create this. Then I can go to my front end and type in, just refresh this, and we create an email template. Instead of having all this stuff, we can create something of our own, okay? I type in email templates. Then I create a new template. So what's an email template? An email template is a pre-made text you've created to welcome your new lead, okay? It could be anything, but I'm just giving you an example, right? Welcome your new lead. Select a folder to put the template. You can just put in a public folder. That's not a problem. But just say, welcome to Black Force. Now, just say, hello, welcome to Black Force. We appreciate whatever, okay? But now you want to put the first name of that person. You want to put the first name that the person entered. You want to put it in that template. You don't put first name directly. Scroll down. There's what they call merge field. Merge field would help you, okay? Would help you look for the first name. Once you click on merge field, then you now look for the first name. Or you can use full name, okay? Technically, it's probably going to be first name and last name, but you can use the first name, okay? Insert, meaning, hello, recipient first name. So whatever I put in my first name there, it will come here. Welcome to Black Force. We appreciate blah, 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 okay? Save. So now that we have these templates, whenever we're creating the assignment rule or the auto response rule, we can use templates. Remember, let's start with the auto response. Auto response. So I said, when the city equals Lagos, I want you to send an email, but I want to select the template of interest. I change from classic to lightning, then welcome your new lead, the template I just created. Save. Now that I've created that using a template called welcome your new lead, anytime I create a new lead, I'll call it manifest. Okay, then Salesforce developer, so I can get it and show you. Remember, the criteria is Lagos. If it doesn't match Lagos, we're not going to get an email, okay? Submit. Now that we've submitted that, I'll go to my email. Can you see? Welcome to Black Force. Hello, manifest. Welcome to Black Force. We appreciate whatever. Okay? How was I able to create that? I used the email templates. And I use merge fields. Merge fields meaning recipient.first name, what I entered in my first name. And as you can see, it automatically creates that first name for you. This is how template works. But you need to set it up. Once you set it up, then you can now use criteria. But again, remember, I can also initiate it from this Salesforce org. I don't need to create web to lead form. I can literally do it from here as long as it is Lagos as a city. It's still going to activate that criteria as long as I have put the criteria to send the email and I've put assign using active assignment rule. Okay? Then we should be able to see another email because I've clicked on assign using active assignment rule. Let me refresh. It should come, but let me see again. Leads, new, web to lead, and I go to refresh. I think the lead city should be Lagos, right? And I have that.
Email field.
Oh yeah, sorry, my bad. That's a key. Obviously, if you're entering the lead, you need to enter the email. That's where you're going to get the email, okay? So now I send that, and we should get probably an email in the back end. I think I never click on the active assignment rule. Let me start that again. Okay. Make sure you have the email, you have the city, and you have active assignment rule checked because you're just entering it from the front, from the Salesforce itself. You're not going for external resources, okay? External way of getting that, okay? And I think I followed all the processes. So let me just refresh this.
I don't think you checked the active assignment rules. You
I
did.
think.
You didn't activate
You
it.
checked it. You checked it.
Oh, did I not?
You did.
I think I did, but
You did.
that's just by the side. Let me show you. That's very important because sometimes you might not see it on your hog. Okay, you go to page layout, you go to whatever layout you're working with, and you can go to the layout properties, and you can take it off. If it's there, you can take it off. Okay, so I'm just giving you a heads up that in case you don't see it, you can enable it and you can take it off. So now that we have that, I'm going to take a pause because it's a lot of information and I want you guys to really understand it. I have one other thing I want to show you, but I want to find out from you guys if there is something that you really want to kind of like question or ask me. I'm going to give like 5-10 minutes for us to ask a quick question before I move to something else. Then we now have our general question and answer. So is there anything you really want to kind of like find out before I move to something else? I think you guys raise up your hand, so I'm going to call on you guys. Rosemary, please.
Thank you. I think I kind of figured this out, but I will ask regardless. When we were doing the lead process and then we did the lead assignment rules and then we're assigning different rules to different users. And I know it's because we're in class, but I know that in a real situation, we would need to assign to multiple users. So I was just thinking if there was another way to assign, say, for example, web leads to be assigned to about 30 users, multiple users at once, instead of having to do it over and over again. But when you went into the queue, I figured maybe queue would better serve that purpose where you'd assign using the queue instead of to users.
Yes, yes, you're right. Because you cannot, like a user, a record in Salesforce belongs to just one user. Okay, yeah. So you cannot assign to multiple users. You can only assign to a queue. Okay. So anyone that belongs to that queue would now go to the list view to see the queue and they accept that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. Thank you.
No worries. Better, please.
Thank you so much, Babatope. I just wanted to confirm when you spoke about like the lead processes, I think there are a few things that we need to make sure when working with lead processes, which is what I basically want you to confirm, that you said the process itself, the lead process itself is basically the life cycle, which the specific lead will follow. And then you said for every lead process, it also needs to have an assignment. And lastly, any lead process should be associated with the record type. Are those the only things that we need to be mindful of when working with leads?
Not really when working with leads, but when working with any processes. So you need to know that it needs to have a record type. It is a record type that determines what process what paths it should take. So for instance, this path is determined by the record type. Okay. Yes. Yeah. The other thing you might want to be mindful about is the page layout. For instance, different processes might require different page layouts.
Page layouts. Okay.
So you can determine the process. Once the process has been determined, then you can also change the layout based on the process. Remember, record types, page layouts, processes, they work hand in hand.
Okay.
Okay. It's like you're going to get like 5 questions in your certification talking about this. Record type, paths, processes, page layouts. That's how you manage and hide information from people that you do not want them to see those information. Okay. So for instance, you have sales department and you have support department. Why should a support department see certain things like revenue if it's not really an important thing for them to work with? So you hide the revenue using the page layouts or field level security, but ideally page layouts. Okay. But why should the support process see user verify? User verify might be essential, but why should the support process see converted or not converted? It is not, it's irrelevant for them, right? So you can hide all those stuff and put the things that supports process should see in terms of life cycle for that support lead. Something like that, okay?
Okay. Thank you so much.
No problem. Adosa, please.
Thank you, Babatope. I just wanted to ask this question. On the email aspect you put in when you were doing the auto response, is that supposed to be a default email, like the owner email, or it's going to be an email which they fill in on the web to lead?
Oh, in this email, is this what you're talking about?
Yeah, this email. Yeah, this is
going to be the sender email. So when you're sending, can you see it says Babatope, right? That's a sender email. But the other one is the email of the person, right? Like Salesforce developer. Where is it? This is it. This is the email of the person filling the form on the website. But this one should be ideally admin or your company name.
Okay, it's gonna be your default company name, which you use in setting up the Salesforce org, right?
Yes. Alternatively, you can set it up yourself by clicking on that. Then you now had the email. Remember, organization-wide default email address. You can also find it in the quick find. Organization-wide addresses. Then you can add whatever email. For instance, you can say Blackforce Inc. Okay, then you now say admin@blackforce.ca. So any email that comes out of the system would have this stuff. Now it's going to ask me to verify that email before they can start sending email as me, right? So that's just the way to configure that, okay?
So when anybody gets that email, this email is going to show as the sender, right?
Yes, this email, and Blackforce Inc. will be in that, where you have this stuff.
Display name. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so second question is, please, I just wanted to ask this question. Can you create an object for, what's it called, for specifically for the queue? Like maybe you just want to have one specific object where all the records will go in whenever it comes to the queue.
No, when you're creating a queue, you can, as you can see, when you're creating a queue, it asks you to select available objects, right? And that's it. So if you want to select a custom object, you can go ahead and select it. Revenue with a custom object. And I think we have exam record as well, or something like that. I think when you're creating the custom object, there was there a criteria for queue? I think so, but I'm not too sure. But you can see that all our custom objects are showing up. Then you can select it, but I'm not sure why you want to create a custom object.
No, I'm just asking, maybe in a situation where they just want every let's say web, wherever they want them to go to a particular object where they can assign all users to go to that object and pick up whatever they want to pick as a group. That's why I'm just asking that question. I'm just kind of like want to know if anything possible like that, like anything, can work like that.
Yeah, totally understand. But remember, lead is a standard object, and that accept feature would not work out of the box for a lot of things, right? This accept is a customized feature for lead. So if you're working on another custom object, you might not have that accept. You can try to verify, but you might not have it, okay?
Okay. Okay, so the last one, sorry. If you have no rules in place, like if you don't have any rules in place, then whatever thing that you send goes to the default, right?
Yes. It goes to the defaults, which you've set in the system, like the default lead owner. If there is no user, if there is no criteria that matches whatever you've set, it goes to the default person. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no worries. So now let's. Sorry, did someone just want to say something?
Sorry, it's my daughter. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So now, as you can see, I was telling you something about lead. Okay. Lead is anything that comes into the lead object, like it must have email and stuff like that, right? But what if we have Babatope olajide 10 times? It doesn't make sense to business. business wants to make sure that the lead they're getting into the system is actually clean and we don't have a lot of duplicates. Okay, Salesforce gives us what they call duplicate management. So what are duplicate management? So duplicate management are what you use to remove duplicates from the system. I think you can remove duplicate from cases, from leads, from most objects you can remove duplicates, okay? But there is what they call duplicate management. And you can set rules that would help you remove duplicates. So how would that work? The first thing you need to do is create a matching rules. What's a matching rule? A matching rule is what tells the system that this is a duplicate. For instance, if we have this email in the system, babatope.olajide@gmail.com is a lead in the system. It's an email. And I don't want to have, obviously, you can easily just say email to be unique, right? That solves the problem, but email might not be an example, a good example. Let's say we want name or we want company. If someone is from this company and the name matches this and the email matches this. Can you see, like, we've created 3 criteria to use to determine if this lead is a duplicate or not. Okay? That's what they call matching rules. Matching rules are the criteria that makes this lead a duplicate in the system. Because to be honest, someone could be bearing Babatope olajide, right? And they might not have, or they could have this at maybe yahoo.com or something like that. But the bottom line is you cannot have Babatope olajide working for the same company and has the same email address. That's very uncommon, right? So the matching rules helps you, okay? Helps you to determine what constitutes to a duplicate in the system. For this, we can try lead. Now, I can say, okay, check duplicates. Okay, check duplicates, and I say, if city is match, no, I don't want to match blank. If company is matching, then it's a duplicate, okay? Save. Okay? Okay, if the city is exact and the company is exact, is a duplicate, then I go to duplicate rules and I create a new duplicate rule for lead. And I would say duplicate cleanup or check. Okay, then enforce the rule. What should happen if the city matches the city we have in the system and the company matches the company we have in the system? What do I mean by that? I'm checking the city and the country. So if I have a new lead coming to the system, I'm checking the city of that lead and the company of that lead. If it matches what we already have in the system, then flag it as a duplicate. Flag it as a duplicate. So I'm going to say, what should happen? Should I still create this lead and just tell the user that it's a potential duplicate? Would you like to merge it? Or I should stop it from being created, meaning that I'll just block it, okay? Okay? Now I'm going to say, choose check duplicates. Remember what check duplicates is doing? It's checking for city and company. And I'm going to say, okay, add this rule. Okay, if you want to create another rule, you can create another rule, but you can now say, optionally specify the condition the record must be for this rule to run. Obviously, you probably don't need to set this, okay? You probably don't need to set this, but if you want to set this, then you can now say, you can now start doing stuff again, but I'll just save. So the rule will run regardless of whatever condition, but what is checking is city and company, okay? So now I'm going to go back to lead I'm going to create a duplicate. So I'm going to say new. The first thing I will do is I'm going to make sure the city is Lagos, and I'm going to make sure the company is ABC. Okay? This I expect to go through without any issue. Okay? Yeah, no worries. I expect to go through without any issue. Now I want to create another lead using the same criteria. Oh, no, not using the same criteria, but just using the same stuff, right? Company ABC and city Lagos. Save. The duplicate did not work. Let's see what happened, or let's check what happened. We did not activate the duplicate. We need to activate the duplicate check for it to work, okay? Activate the duplicate check. You can activate this duplicate check. All olajide matching rules must be active and have fields map, okay? So I go to matching rules. I activate the matching rule first, okay? Now that I've activated the matching rule, I'll go to duplicate rules and I will activate the duplicate rules. Okay? So now I've activated the matching rules, which says city and company, if it matches what we have in the system, flag it as a duplicate and don't create block. Okay? So now I refresh and I try the same thing again. Lead, new, company ABC, and the city is Lagos. And it's already telling me there's a duplicate. I can't even go forward because sorry, I need to have the name. Okay, but regardless, I couldn't go forward. It's already telling me there's a duplicate in the system. That's how powerful Salesforce is. Salesforce is already checking the system as you're typing. And it's telling you that if the company and the city matches the same, what we have in the system, flag it as a duplicate. And that's how you create clean record in your Salesforce org. Because remember, lead is most likely going to be coming from an external source. And you want to make sure that the lead is clean in the system. Without a clean lead, you're just going to have a bunch of bad records in the system, and you don't want that. Okay? So that's for lead. But there's more to lead than just what I've shown you, right? I've shown you a lot of things from this lead object, like typically you see an object as just records and fields, but you can see that there's much to it than just record and field. Now, let me select these two leads and you go to this arrow, you can send an email. So you can send an email to a lead right from the leads view. Literally, I just selected two leads and I'm going to send an email. Hello, I'm going to insert the first name, right? I'm going to insert the first name. Thanks for joining us, right? Send. So basically, you can literally send an email. Okay, you can specify the subject. Sending test, okay? Sending test, send. So the email in the system is this, and it's going to be sending email to the people in the system. And what can you do again? You can change the status of the lead. You can determine to change the status of the lead and change it to whatever it is, okay? Like you're changing it 2-3 times. You're changing more than one records at a time compared to, when you have opportunities or when you have other records, you don't have that luxury of doing stuff, right? There are not much stuff you can do with other objects. But for leads, you can do a lot with them, okay? You can do a lot with them. You can select multiple, you can change status, you can select multiple, you can send email, you can also import new leads. We haven't talked about data loading, but you can also import new leads, just like you have with normal data loading. You select the objects and you import this. But I wouldn't do this right now because we haven't talked about data loading, but that's possible, okay? So we can do so many things with the lead object. Just by looking at the lead, it has a lot of inbuilt features we can play around with, okay? So I'm going to take a pause again to find out if you guys have any question, then I can just go overview everything we've just talked about, then we can round up for tonight. Do you guys have any questions so far? I'm going to go with Ademola.
Hi, Babatope, thank you very much.
Yeah.
My question is about the duplicates that we just did now.
Yes.
So I want to ask, how many or what is the maximum number of criteria we can use for duplicates? Is it just the 3 or the 2 like you showed in the example, or can we use more than 2 criteria for our duplicate?
I think you can use let's try to create a new rule. You can use 5. You can use 5 or something. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, you can use 5, but you can now start using filter logic as well. And I think you can add more rule, but I think it's quite much. So obviously, the more you put there, the more operational expensive it becomes, right? So you just want to limit that, okay? But again, you can determine duplicates based on anything. The only thing there is that right now, I told you we're doing beyond administrative. Yeah, so we're not doing Salesforce admin again. This is now you thinking, solving client problem. Client says, we have duplicates in the system. We don't want duplicates in the system. Remember, duplicate management. Duplicate management is used to manage duplicates. The client says, whenever lead come in, we want to assign to a different department a queue and stuff like that. Remember assignment rule. Assignment rule helps you to assign to different set of people or queue. Remember, if you have a life cycle, whether you need to verify a user, which obviously is my own case study, but it could be more. Whether you need to verify a user before you can move forward with the user, this is called life cycle. It's business process. Then you create the business process for particular lead coming to the system, okay? Now you have to start thinking about solving problems. Tammy, please.
Good evening, Babatope.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, for the leads object, can we use the data import wizard to import data to our leads list?
Yes, you can use data. Yeah, because lead is part of. I've not talked about that yet, so I'll be very gentle on that. But yes, you can use data loader, and you can use data import wizard. Okay, data loader you can import anything, but data loader you have limitation on the kind of object you can use. You can import. Okay, you can import accounts and contacts. You can import leads. You can import solutions. You can import campaigns. And any custom object you've created, any of the custom objects you can import. But standard objects, you have limits, okay? You can only import account and contact, leads, solution, and campaign members, okay?
And that brings me to the next question, sorry. If we can use the data import wizard, to import records to our leads object. So what if we have the matching rule in place and it went during the import and it hits maybe one record was like already in the system during the import process? Does it stop the process entirely, or it ignores and alert the system admin, or I don't know how the process would look like after that?
Yeah, you can deactivate assignment rules while importing, okay? You can you have the option to do that in data import, but data loader, you don't have that. I don't think you have that option. Oh, I think you might have that assignment rule option in data loader as well. But in definitely data import wizard, if you're using it, you have the option to all lead using the assignment rule. You can deactivate it or you can say none. Can you see the assignment rule we created earlier?
Yes.
You can select it, right? Assign new lead to source, whatever it is, you can select all this stuff. So you have the liberty to either activate an assignment rule or deactivate it in data import. But for data loader, I'm not too sure. When we get there, I will make sure that you have the right information regarding data loader. But again, we're not talking about data loader now, but just heads up, okay?
All right, thank you.
Yeah. Vinita, please.
Hi, Babatope.
Yeah.
I have a question regarding duplicate rules. So my question is, if there is a lead who is interested in 2 products and we apply a duplicate rules, so how this is going to work? We have to give him we have to set up criteria, order 1 and order 2. And
so what are you why duplicate rule and product? I'm trying to say the connection.
For an example, if there is a lead whose name is, XYZ, and he is interested in 2 type of products. So he's a lead. He's not yet a contact. He's not still an account, but he is interested in 2 types of product. And I want to make sure that, there is already set up rules, which is duplicate rules in the system. So how does it work in that case?
Yes. So now you have to be very careful, because Salesforce provides you this stuff does not mean you should be using it casually. You don't want to use it casually, right? You want to make sure that you've thought about possible use cases and how to mitigate stuff like this. So one thing you might want to put into place is maybe and product type on the lead. Do you understand? You can use record types. You can use another field called product type. So you now be checking if it matches this, and this product type, do this. If it matches this, and this product type, then it's a duplicate. But if it's not this product type, then it's no duplicate. That means it's a new lead for another product type. Do you get what I mean?
Yes, I do. But how do you actually make it I understand what you're saying, but I don't know how to do it.
Okay, so you go to matching rules. Matching rules. First of all, you go to the lead and you would create maybe another custom field, okay? Custom field for that particular product. Maybe you have product type, okay? I'll just do a test and I'll call it product type. Or no, segment or category, lead category, whatever it is, okay? Whatever it is, you call it that, lead category, okay? So next, and next, save. Now I go to matching rules and I say new rule. I'm gonna choose lead, okay? Next. And I'm going to say ensure, or whatever you want to call it, right? Just call it product check, duplicate check.
Or we can put that like a student who is interested in 2 courses. So how do you do it?
Yeah. So in this case, it could just be cost duplicate check, okay? Mm-hmm. So product duplicate, cost duplicate, then you now say, where is sorry, why is it this thing we just created? So you actually have limited fields you can select, by the way. So I'm thinking let me see. We don't have a custom. Sorry, what do you want to say?
Lead category.
Sorry. Lead category, and I'll just say whatever criteria I want to use as well, right? So we don't want to say, because we know that this lead would always have the same email, most likely, right? Because it's the same person, right?
Yes.
And we don't want to make email unique. We want to have as many leads as possible, but we don't want to have the same person coming into the system for the same reason. That's why we have the lead category, okay? And we say lead category and email, save. That's the matching rule, okay? So now we go to duplicate rule.
You want to activate this yet?
Oh yeah, activate, that's right. Then we go to duplicate rules. We go to new rule for lead. Then we say category check, okay? Then we say do not allow whenever this matches, okay? That's cost duplicate, which I created earlier. Then I don't need to put an option. But again, you can also specify criteria for this to run, meaning that you can even say if the created date, is that created date? Okay, I think we can use created date. If the created date is within 7 days, something like that. You can even specify more criteria before this duplicate check, okay? So now I have this duplicate check, I activate, I go back to my lead object, then I say the first lead that comes into the system, if it's Babatope, it's fine, okay? If it's Babatope olajide.gmail, and category is Black Force. It's fine, okay? I'm sorry. So now I want to create a new lead again. But if this guy is still, did I use email? Was it email that I used for the check? Yeah. So if this guy is coming to the system again and it is from Black Force, I think I don't want to create this lead, okay? Because I already have this lead. Okay, this record looks like an existing record. Make sure potential duplicates are, okay? So it's going to show you the duplicates and you can just use this instead of that. Does that help?
Yes, it does.
Yeah. So that's how you set it up. But again, you need to think in the bigger picture because this is very, very easy, right? But in real life situation, it's going to be more interesting. You have to think about different variables, not just email and category, but you use other things as well to make sure that you're capturing all the requirements from the business before you flag them as duplicates, okay? Don't let the business miss their lead, okay? So now I want to quickly show you your project.
I have a question.
Oh, sorry. Rosemary, please.
Can we use duplicate rules and matching rules for historical records in a system? Say a company have come to you and say, we have just so much information and they are very certain they are duplicate rules. Can we use the duplicate rules and matching rules for records already in the system, not for new records being created?
You have to trigger it, okay? Like how there is what they call mass reassign, or not that. You have to trigger an update. Somehow you have to trigger it because it's not gonna dedupe existing records. You have to now say, when you're doing this, you say action on edit. Can you see action on create? Action on create meaning that allow or do not allow. Yes. But what happens when you edit? Allow or do not allow. That means you have to trigger that edit operation, then this will kick in.
Oh, okay.
Okay, yeah. So I'm trying to give you, I know Ola, please carry on. Ola, please. Unmute yourself and speak, Ola.
So mine is just like a piece of suggestion for the group. I believe we are trying to maybe grow our professional connections and co. So maybe if we could use this opportunity to share maybe our LinkedIn profile or something. So maybe for later connections or something.
That's fine. You can discuss that in the group, okay? You can discuss that in the group. That's not a problem. Samuel, please.
Yeah, hi. Thanks, Babatope, for all that you do. So just a quick question. You don't have to go back. I just want to ask, so aside from the auto response email that that it's sent out initially, is there like a way to set up like a subsequent emails after that? So say, for example, someone already put in their details initially, but as a company, you just want to follow up like a week later and maybe another week later or something like that. Is there a way to do that in Salesforce?
There is a way to do that, but Salesforce is not the sales cloud is not the ideal tool. There is what they call marketing cloud, and marketing cloud has journeys, and journeys are used to find out who opens an email and how long they were on the screen for. And after that, what should happen immediately? What should happen after 3 days they open the email and stuff like that, okay? So Marketing Cloud is ideal for that. However, in Salesforce, you might be able to use workflow. There's what they call flows and there's what they call workflow rules. This is what we're going to do in the last week. We're going to touch about flows. Those are automation tools. What happens, there is what they call time-dependent workflow rules that determines when to trigger an email after X amount of days or after X amount of hours, okay? But Salesforce Cloud is not really designed for that, okay? It's more of marketing automation that can easily solve what you're trying to say, okay?
Awesome, thank you. Yeah.
Ademola, please.
All right, thank you very much, Babatope. Sorry to take you back a little bit. This is just a follow-up on the question Rosemary asked the other time about using duplicate matching rules on historical records. Now, can we use audit trail in that kind of situation?
Audit trail does something else. It checks setup changes. What are setup changes? Setup changes are whatever the admin is doing or anyone that has privilege of an administrator is doing in the system, okay? It has nothing to do with records. Records are front-end activities, but trail is for administrative activities like back-end stuff and everything. It just kind of like logs whatever the person is doing for future purpose.
Okay, thank you very much.
No worries. Laulu, please.
Okay, thank you, Babatope. Yeah, so I was going to ask if we have the web to lead and set up on the system, and we have duplicate management set up, and somebody is trying to fill the web form and submit it, and the person is filling a duplicate information. Is there anything on the system that is going to capture that to reveal that somebody is like putting duplicate information? Because the user, what I'm saying is that the user at the other end might think he's doing the right thing and submit and he just go, but will the system see that or it just discard it?
It would just discard it. It wouldn't right now we have this, right? And if we make email unique or something like that, it's just going to discard it. So let me give you an example. So we have leads, we have, I think we have company ABC or something like that. Is it company ABC? Where is it? First, no. We have a lead that has company ABC and we know that there's a duplicate rule in place for company and stuff. If this guy should come in and say ABC and say CT, the lead it will not just even reach Salesforce, it will just go. You understand? Salesforce will not recognize it because unless you put a way to send a feedback from the website, then you can send a feedback. But if you haven't put a feedback mechanism on the front end, whatever you put there, it will not be recognized and it will just not save. Okay? Okay. It's not going to go into the system, yeah. So it's going to fail and forget. If that makes sense to you.
Yeah, it does. But I'm just wondering if that won't result in losing a lead somehow.
Yeah, but that's what you've designed now. You've designed it to not accept it. So what else do you want? Like literally, you have to have thought about it before you design it. That's why a lot of bad architects will design a solution and in the future, they start hiring other people to come and fix it. Because it's a job of an architect to think about it. A consultant can do small businesses, okay? But an architect to think about an enterprise. And if it messes that enterprise up, they have to hire another architect to fix it. That's why a lot of people kind of like messes people's Salesforce org a lot. because they haven't thought about that use case. There should be a place whereby you put default things not matching to queue or something like that, or like what, I don't know who said that earlier, another object which you can store data into that is coming from an external system. There was a particular project I did. It was to load data from a legacy system into Salesforce. But because we don't know the nature of that data, we had to put in a staging object. That staging object we've now written some criteria, we've written some process builder and some workflow that whenever it matches X, Y, Z, it should go into this object. Whenever it matches A, B, C, it should go into this object. You understand? So that's the way you ensure data sanity in the system. Otherwise, you're going to just have a bunch of bad data. And if they're, Salesforce makes sense if you have good data. If you have a bad data, you're not really using the benefit of Salesforce. You're just literally another Excel sheet. But good data makes good sense in Salesforce. Okay?
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Yes, so I think everyone is good there. This is your first project. If you are a member, you probably get a group project as well. But if you're not, this project is sufficient enough. There'll be part 2 to this project, but this is part 1. It's just for you to build a very simple application for a billing system of a telecom. Okay, so now, what is the problem statement? The finance head of global communication has asked you to create an application to calculate mobile and internet bills for their customers. Currently, the company maintains their customer data in an Excel sheet. As the number of the customers has reached 3,000, maintaining this data in an Excel sheet has become impossible. This app that you need to develop should be able to calculate the customer bills based on their usage and rental plan. This is a very typical case study as a consultant. If you can solve this, you are good to go. Okay, so analysis. First, analyze the problem. The company offers telecommunication services to mobile and internet users. Consequently, the application to be designed needs to store customer information, rental plans, and their billing details. All this information needs to be created as a Salesforce object where the following can be saved: customer information such as name, phone, and email, plan details such as free usage, rates of calling, SMS, and internet, billing information that contains the number of calls made, number of messages sent, amount of internet data used. The bills are then automatically calculated based on the plan selected. This is a key thing in this whole thing. The bills are then automatically calculated based on the plan selected. So this is what your object will look like: customer, plan, bill. Okay? So the data model. As part of the data model for the application, create 3 custom objects: plan, customer, and bill. Plan customer object will contain information about the mobile and internet monthly plan the company has on offer. Customer custom object stores information about the customer who wants to take up the plan. Bill custom object stores records of the monthly bill generated for the customer against the selected plan. Now, the plan object should include the following fields: call rates, minutes, free internet, free SMS, and the likes. It's now your responsibility to find out what data type to select for this object. Think about what is call rate per minute? What kind of data type would that be? What is free calling per minute? What is free internet MB? What kind of data type should that be? The customer object should include address, customer name, email, must be unique. How would you set that? Phone, what data type should your phone be? Plan and any other fields useful. The bill object should include bill end dates, bill start dates, amount of internet use, call charges, customer internet charges, and the likes, okay? So this is the projects. And I've given you some suggestions on how to approach this with the type of data you should use. For instance, step 1, create your custom object and relationships. Step 2, create default plan record using data below. So that means you're going to create record for plan, basic plan, standard plan, and premium plan. Enter this detail based on the fields you've created. then create 3 customers and assign those plans to them. Then you calculate the bill. I wouldn't tell you much about this, but I'm going to share this in the group. You guys, is due like the fourth week is due in our final week. I'm going to be showing you the solution to this, but I want everyone to try it. If you remember, you're going to get assistance with review and how your performance is. But if you're not a member, please try and look out for the solution. Okay, it's a very good project. If you can do this, you will be on the right track to becoming a Salesforce consultant. So I'm going to share this in the group, but do you guys have any questions regarding this project? And maybe after you can ask me questions tomorrow, but please try to attempt this. It has covered everything we've done in the last few days. In the last 6 days, it has covered everything. It has nothing that you do not know. You just need to read, understand, and interpret this project into a Salesforce application. Okay? Part 2 is much, much technical, but this one is very straightforward. It looks wordy, but it's very easy once you get started. But if you're really keen on Salesforce, I would recommend you finish this project before next week. So we can probably do it on the 3rd week, and I'll give you the part 2 of this project, and we do the part 2 the last week. So we can actually see practical case study of how to use Salesforce in the real world. Okay, that's all from me. Do you guys have any questions? Or is it already intimidating? Like, are you guys scared?
To be quite honest, Babatope.
It looks scary.
Everybody was silent.
I never did anything.
That is scary, man.
This is what I'm training.
I know, Babatope. I was going to ask you, how many months would you give us to solve these? But, with the help.
This is a next week deadline, or honestly, this
next
is
week.
Next week.
It's looking like
to do this, so we have to do this special.
There's work, there's family runs, there's everything.
This is what you would get. Look at.
We move.
Especially for those that want to get a job in the next 3 months. Okay. I'm gonna be praying for you guys. Uduak, please.
Is it a group thing or just individually?
It's an individual project, and the group project is for members, but this one is individual. Everyone needs to do this. If you even want to succeed in Salesforce, I would expect you to do this. So let's start with Uduak. Do you have a question?
No, that's just the question. Okay, no wala.
Okay, good.
So, are you sending it on the Telegram or?
Yeah, I'll share it on the Telegram. I'll share it to the members as well. But everyone will get a copy and ask me if we need it. I'll share it. I'll ping it to everyone.
Thank you.
Okay.
Tonight?
Yes.
My question is tonight. Are you sharing it tonight?
I'll try to share it tonight. Yes.
People
are ready, sir.
Coming in hot. Share it as soon as you can. Some of us want to start working on it.
Okay.
Those of us that are not on Telegram, please.
Okay, I'll try to send. I cannot send it via email. Just probably send me an email so I can send you the attachment via email just to reply you. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Or why not please send you an email so that you can share?
You do well. Now go there. So say.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you so much.
I will try to share it as much as possible. Just ask me and I will share it to you, okay? But please try to finish this by next week. It's very easy and straightforward. The only challenging bit is this formula, okay? And you can learn a formula here, okay? And validation rules. I think that's all from me. Tammy, do you have a question before we log off for tonight?
Are the members going to do this one as well, or you're going to give us separately?
What's the difference between member and non-member? The only thing is that you get challenges.
If we can do this individually, I don't know if you're saying something like.
There's another project coming up for members. That's the group project. But this one, everyone in my class needs to do this. It's compulsory for everyone.
That's what
because we don't have much time, and members get to get work experience. So there's so much thing that can be done. But we don't have time. But this, I believe we can do within 1 week, okay?
So are you going to share it in the WhatsApp group as well? And
I'm going to share it through any medium I can reach out to you, okay? And you will get it. Don't worry about that. Especially the members, you definitely get it because I'll send it via email to you. It's compulsory for you guys. Okay?
Sorry, Babatope, is there a precise date?
I think a week is okay for this, to be honest. By next week, Monday, everyone should have finished this.
All right, then. Thank you.
Yeah. By next week, Monday, okay?
So how do we submit, actually?
Again, if you're not a member, you don't need to submit.
No, for members. Sorry, for members.
For members, you will communicate that to you guys. Don't worry.
Okay.
Okay.
For non-members, now how do we know we're not done rubbish?
We're going to see the solution. I'm going to work the solution for you guys, okay? I'm going to work out the solution for you. But remember, like, the training is free and it's for you guys to learn Salesforce. Members just get the benefit of having a review, one-on-one, those kind of thing, right? They get to see where their mistake is and they learn from that mistake. That's just the benefit, right? But for non-members, you still get to see the solution, but I wouldn't review you one-on-one. That's all. Okay?
Thank you.
No worries. Take care of yourself and have a good night. I will see you guys tomorrow.